Welcome to NTR Radio. I'm Tom Force Anubis.
I'm VZ Mark II.
And we're joined by the Geeky Panda from the Geeky Panda blog.
I'm tired. Hey guys, what's up?
How's it going? K-Gods isn't with us today. So, what's been going on?
Well, my food is being delivered to me right now.
Excellent.
It just literally got picked up. It's actually going on pretty okay. I'm a essential worker.
Yep,
So I deal with all the shenanigans. Yep. Well, you're
yeah,
like,
I'm in a different essential category.
Yeah, me, I'm like front lines grocery store essential category, and I'm seeing full on stupidity at its like finest at this point.
And I'm just an essential otaku.
I'm the essential otaku. I'm very essential right now.
Yes. Listen. Otaku, nothing, short of, a meteor just wiping out all life. Otaku are going to be doing otaku things.
Oh.
All right.
You do what you gonna do, buddy.
Listen, the anime figure hustle hasn't stopped. In the past month and a half or so, I've made just over $300 off of anime figures, and that's like
nice.
Just 2 sales.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. Like
so the thirst for otaku stuff is not. Please believe that the thirst for otaku stuff is still very strong. It's just kind of restricted.
Maybe I should see what you're stocking, because right now I have a figure that's in figure limbo because EMS just went.
She's Shinikiba.moe, but don't really expect anything too recent because I know. Regardless of me selling stuff, my distributor is definitely having problems because they're the ones with the connection to Japan.
Yeah.
And they're also under a stay-at-home order in their state, so there's going to be some problems there. But I do have stock, Shinikiba.moe.
It's the pinnacle of laziness.
Me forgetting to get into the IRC and telling people how to get in the IRC. So here's what you do. You hit up ntrradio.net. You click on the link to go to the chat, and when you're there, you enter your nickname, hit the button, and join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, hit up your favorite IRC channel, put it at irc.ryzen.net, and join us in the # SLC Media channel. In addition, you can get at us on Twitter, at @Anubis, at VZMK2, at NTR_radio, and as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com. So what's the pinnacle of laziness, Panda? Other than what I just described to you.
Well, yeah, no, that's pretty lazy. So, in my room I have like that, I temporarily have a 55-inch LG TV.
Yeah. 55-inch, wow.
Well, like my parents, they know their TVs. They get some pretty good shit. So they're not at the house right now, and so I'm temporarily using it. But here's the deal: I haven't even turned the damn thing on, and I'm thinking to myself, I could easily plug in a HDMI cable, but it's too goddamn long. I need to order from Amazon. And then I thought to myself, I could just easily take one of my PS3s, plug it into the TV, and I'll be all set. But I'm just too goddamn lazy of taking the PS3, moving it over a few feet at the base of it, and plugging it in.
See, I can't relate to that at all because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 consoles over there by the TV. 3 of which use the regular I think is composite input, the red, white, yellow inputs, but I only have one HDMI upscaler. So if I want to play the Dreamcast, I have to unplug the Saturn from that and get that all situated. I also think I only have one power cable, so I also have to go back there. unplug the power input from the Dreamcast and plug it into whatever I'm putting up at current. So yeah, I can't relate to that at all.
If you want to see something totally bonkers as far as console design, like console, actually the whole console is like a design blunder. Just like as far as a ground up, this is not how you design a console.
The PS3.
Look up the Atari 5200.
Atari. Well, first off, the
Came out
PS3 didn't have the Red Ring of Death issue the Xbox 360 had.
Yeah, it didn't,
Yeah.
but it did have its own problems, which Sony did not do right by their customers in fixing, unlike Microsoft.
True.
Everything, yeah, just everything. Like they an incredibly awful control that, like, you know, it's like pretty much if you want to buy one, you have to like have it like custom repaired.
To be
today.
fair,
Honestly,
it was the 1980s for the Atari.
and you know, honestly, I've seen worse controllers than that. I used to own an Atari Jaguar.
Yeah,
I was about to say, like, we all played on Mad Cat's controllers at one time, so at this point, you know.
Panda, do you understand the Atari Jaguar controller? Because if you don't, we can't have this conversation. The Atari Jaguar controller is such a terrible design, especially for the time it came out. So
yeah, they put the what is it, that numerical keypad
down in the like lower center of it. So here's the dealio. You can look at this in I put that in the Discord channel. I'll also put it in the IRC channel.
God.
What the hell is... What the...
Sir, you are looking at the Atari Jaguar and its controller. Let me tell you about that controller. Do you remember the old Xbox controller?
Yeah, the Duke.
The Duke. Imagine the Duke controller, but they put the worst D-pad you can possibly imagine on it. They all of the like the ergonomic elements that form fit to your hand that Microsoft took from the Dreamcast controller, those are all gone. It's basically a curved brick in your hands. And then they have the audacity to expect you to reach your thumbs down into the center of the controller to manipulate this little numerical keypad that has all the specialized controls for each game you're playing.
It honestly looks like a controller with a TV remote attached to it.
That's basically it. And
the fact that they're numbered just makes it even worse. Like, am I changing channels? Am I making a phone call? Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so bad. Like, I like to, I don't like to, but I will shit on the N64 controller because it's a flawed design. Now, as a controller, it actually works really well. Like, it's a great controller for what it's trying to do at the time. It controls badly despite being a flawed design. The Atari Jaguar controller, nothing good can be said about the Atari Jaguar controller. If you're saying anything good about the Atari Jaguar controller, I know you're lying to me.
No, dude, it looks on. Like, I feel like I'm about to change the channel here. Like, hold on, I need to go on channel 3.
Please change the channel. Please
Little
change the channel to literally any other console than the Atari Jaguar.
Also inserts went onto that.
Oh yeah, you had to and God forbid you lost the insert.
Jesus.
Again, so yeah,
No.
that's what I'm saying. What they took from the 5200 controller was the numerical keypad.
So if you're wondering why Atari isn't in the console market anymore, unlike Sega, which made some mistakes, but were also beset on all sides by ne'er-do-wells. Atari was just bad at making making their game consoles and their game controllers at the tail end.
Also, the
They just
games
weren't good at it.
Also, the majority of the games did not look anywhere like 64-bit.
No, they wished they were 64-bit. Quite frankly, some of them wished they were 32-bit.
Yeah,
There was
most
some
looked.
really not too modern looking games back in like the 94, 95 era.
Yeah. Well, that was also because it was a Western console maker and developer, and Western at the time. I'm sorry, didn't know how to
Well,
do a console
well
the way.
the Western console market had almost ruined itself. Well, it did ruin itself
It
back in
did.
the 80s.
Like it did.
And
Yeah.
Japan came and saved them. Like, okay, so if you want a kind of a look into the difference between what different consoles of the era were capable of, you want to take a look at a game called Alien Trilogy. It came out on the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation
Yeah, I remember that game.
back in 96. You want to take a look at that game, and then you want to compare it to Alien vs. Predator for the Atari Jaguar. Now, Alien vs. Predator for the Atari Jaguar is actually probably one of the best games on the console. But if you take a look at some of its contemporaries, because it's coming off of like the sort of Wolfenstein 3D paradigm, where it's all on basically one plane, and all the walls are 90 degrees. Whereas even like that, we're after Doom. Doom is already out.
Yeah, Doom came out in what, 93?
93.
Yeah.
And this came out in 94?
And yep.
Alien vs. Predator was one
94.
of the launch. Yeah, it was like one of the launch games, or just about.
Not gonna lie, not bad. Doesn't look that bad.
Yeah. Look up, if you want to laugh, look up.
And what my point is that just based on the capability of the console, like the Jaguar had Doom, but at the same time, it's like based on the capability of the console, for some reason we just couldn't get something like Alien Trilogy on the Jaguar, even though it's the same kind of concept as Alien vs. Predator.
And then they also did Jaguar CD, which didn't last.
The less said about which, the better.
Well,
it's like, so if you look at the Sega CD, what we can remember, like, there's maybe like 3, 4, 5 real big games that everyone remembers on the Sega CD, and everyone remembers being really good. Can somebody name one game on the Jaguar CD that everyone remembers being really good?
Maybe just Primal Rage, but more on just the name Primal Rage. I don't know how that version on the system itself was.
I need to take a look at a comparison of that.
Oh shit, my food's almost here.
Because I guarantee you that it wasn't all that good. But the Jaguar was just so, especially compared to what would come after it with the Saturn and the PlayStation and the N64. It's like it was just such an in-between sort of thing. Like, even like I said, you can go back to the Sega CD and there's still some quality there, but the Jaguar was just like, what are we trying to do, especially competing with all these other console makers out here? And it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be the last major Western console until the Xbox.
Yeah, pretty much.
So not only did it die the death, but it also killed the Western console maker market until Microsoft decided to jump in, to throw caution to the wind and try and basically continue the paradigm Sega was on. Because if you look at a lot of what the Xbox was doing, it was a lot of stuff that Sega had started. But yeah, if you want to look at bad game console controllers, then the Atari Jaguar is where that line ends, because there really is, like, both from a form standpoint and a function standpoint, it was really
I'm surprised you
bad.
didn't know about Cybermorph though, because that was the packing game for the Jaguar.
I don't know that I had Cybermorph. I don't know that I played any of it. I remember 3 games. It's uh Alien vs Predator, of course.
Yeah.
There was some soccer game that I barely played, but we owned. And then there was a shmup called Trevor McFur in the
Yes.
Crescent Galaxy.
Yes.
I was very bad at that, like most shmups. Like, I'm bad. Like, I basically haven't gotten much better at shmups
No
since I was 5
music,
years
by
old.
the way.
No music
No
at all.
music.
At all.
Yeah.
It's just pew pew boom boom, like the
Also, badly photoshopped animals on people's bodies.
yep
Animal bodies. Animal heads on people's bodies.
yep. Yeah, it wasn't a very good game. Like like don't, like, if you're trying to get into shmups, don't follow my path, because you actually, if Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy is your first shmup, you probably might actually stop playing shmups, because it's not very good at all. But yeah, then I got a Sega Saturn, and everything was infinitely better from then on.
Light years ahead. That's like light years ahead from like.
Whoa, games can move at a speed that isn't a slow crawl. Wow, I never knew this. I'm gonna play Virtual On. It's like,
Yeah, I want to know, like looking at some of the Jaguar games, like why were some of these games had such really low frame rate?
my assumption is that the Jaguar, a lot like the Saturn, was difficult to program for. That's my assumption. I know I learned why this happened, but I don't quite remember.
So we're pulling a PS3.
We're pulling a Saturn, except our games are still infinitely worse than what came out for the Saturn, which quite frankly wasn't that bad, but the issue was that it wasn't quite as good as as other ports for other consoles, except when you're talking about in-house developed games, which is where the Sega Saturn was really strong, especially for arcade ports of the Model 3, the Model 2 hardware.
You know, for all the fact that it had a very short lifespan, but I've actually played some. I didn't play the actual thing, but played like emulation of it. 32X actually isn't that bad. It just came out at an awful time.
What really kind of started Sega rolling down the hill was the entire paradigm of the 32X and the CD.
Kind of that. Kept making
let's make add-ons instead of new consoles.
Oh no, I agree.
Sort of killed it.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what they should have done was, instead of it being an add-on, it should have been a year before. It should have come out a year before. It's funny because I got the Genesis in '93, so what I'm saying should have came out in '93. What was called the Neptune, which was just the 32X, but the whole, but
as a standalone.
Yeah, that should have came out in '93.
I think that actually would have killed them faster, because then so the Genesis comes out. Well, the Genesis comes out when, in like 89, 91, around there.
No, 88 in Japan, 89 in the US.
So the Genesis comes out in 88. When did the Super Nintendo come out?
90 in Japan, I think 91 in the US.
So they got 2 years on the SNES. what are they gonna come out with the 32X in 92 and then the Saturn in 94? Because what part of what killed them between the Saturn and the Dreamcast era was that the Saturn came out so fast after the Sega CD, and then they kind of abandoned the Saturn halfway through its lifespan to start with the Dreamcast.
The retailers didn't like that at all. They actually hated Sega for that.
Neither did the third-party developers.
Yeah. Also, everyone forgets that the Saturn was actually really popular in Japan.
Well, yeah, Japan, you know, all that dandy stuff. But wasn't the Saturn also really hard to program?
It was notoriously hard to program for. A lot of you'll find that curiously, it's a lot like the Nintendo Wii, where a lot of the best games are developed by the first party, the people who made the console.
See, but it's really interesting that Genesis and Sega and Nintendo were able to really be toe to toe for quite a while, up until around 94 with Donkey Kong Country.
Well, you understand why that happened, though.
Oh, I know, because
Sega was a massive underdog for that entire console generation, especially at the start. They had to get really aggressive with their marketing in very, very particular ways to really beat Nintendo. Because make no mistake, everyone, Nintendo has this cutesy, family-friendly image, but they are a ruthless company.
Oh God, yeah.
And
God forbid you piss them off, you know, legally, and they send the lawyers out to get you.
And not only that, but God forbid you try to compete with them. Back in the early 90s, they will try and get stores to not carry your console. They'll strong arm stores to not carry the Genesis. So Sega had to Sega basically bought out all the marketing in this one town where like the flagship Walmart was. And
see, none of that I even remember, because around the time when I was in like Toys R Us and shit, I saw Sega, I saw Genesis everywhere and shit.
Well, so, that's because Sega got so aggressive with their marketing that people went into these stores and said, "Hey, I want to get a Sega Genesis. Where can I get a Sega Genesis?" And the stores were basically forced to say, "Hey, we got to start carrying the Sega stuff. Otherwise, all that business is going to go away. People are coming in asking for the Nintendo. People are coming in asking for the Genesis."
See, I even remember seeing Master System stuff where I was, and the Game Gear, which is what convinced me to get a Game Gear.
Well, you also got to remember too, like this was back then when the internet was like not even like fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
So they had to heavily rely on like TV commercials, especially.
Yep.
Like, oh my God, that was one of the biggest things. Freaking
Genesis does, but Nintendo.
Yeah, like the freaking I remember the PlayStation was out for fucking blood. They they had I remember the Crash Bandicoot guy.
Oh yeah,
was in front of the Nintendo of America calling their shit out.
The early and mid '90s console wars were brutal.
Oh hell
they were not playing around. And and on some level, it kind of makes sense because the business side behind all that was equally brutal.
Yeah. Well, you had to be.
Nintendo's out here basically extorting stores to not carry their competitors' stuff. Nintendo might actually have been part of the spark for the whole congressional investigation into violence in video games, because they were trying to stop Sega on that front too. Everyone knows how they kind of left Sony holding their dicks because they entered into the PlayStation deal with Sony and then backed out unceremoniously.
Which was really
never apologized for that.
Because the only reason why the PlayStation exists because Sony was really fucking pissed off.
Oh yeah.
Like, what you don't understand is in Japanese business culture, something like that does not fucking happen.
Don't go back on your deal because you're not gonna.
Like, it was unheard
You're
of,
not gonna
basically.
they.
Oh yeah, they backed out and then went to the American company. What was it?
Phillips.
Phillips. And the executives and the president was so pissed off.
Sony was not happy.
Like, and they were like, like, fuck it, let's make our own console.
Yep.
Let's show them what we got. And that's you can thank Nintendo for
I bet I'm
making
the only
PlayStation.
For better or worse.
I bet I'm the only person that you will ever meet that has played a 3DO.
Damn, dude.
I didn't have it. My older cousin had it, and I tried it one time.
Well, the interesting thing is that those prototypes, they do exist, but I think there's only like one of them. Like, it's like very few exist.
One sold recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like, it's like a collector's wet fucking dream to own that prototype. And it's just, again, think about it. It would have been insane what happened if Nintendo never backed the fuck out. Like, the whole console dynamic would have fucking changed.
Yeah, I got it right here. Nintendo PlayStation sold for $360,000.
Oh my god. Damn. 360?
Yep.
K?
Yep.
You know what? It is, and people saying like, that's stupid. It's just like, no, it's so fucking rare that trying to find a working system is becoming really fucking hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is it? The PSX with that hybrid thing they did with the PS2, turned it into like a DVD player thing, only came out on Japan. It's hard to find a working one anymore because the hard drive, Sony did something to it where you couldn't just replace it easily, where you couldn't just easily replace it with something else. No, they did something to it where you had to have that hard drive specifically, their code specifically. So if that hard drive died, your whole system was fucked.
Sony just likes to do things to make their shit hard to use, doesn't it?
Well,
I got
easier now, but
I'm also looking for. I'm also looking at this right here, Sega Dreamcast Katana Development Kit. So this is the Dreamcast dev kit. This is currently $9,500 on eBay.
it's actually cheaper than I thought it would be.
No, you want to know console design blunders also. The CDI that has the battery, the save battery backup.
Oh,
that
yeah.
where
Some cartridges, Nintendo cartridges use that too.
Well, yeah, but this one it's like built into the chip of the console, and once that's out, you have to like basically, if you want to replace it, you have to like basically carve it out.
Wow.
And then like do soldering and shit.
You literally had to solder your way out just to solder it the fuck back in.
Pretty much, yeah.
God damn.
You gotta cut the thing out and then just put a new battery and then do some soldering and shit if you want to get that working.
So the one for the Dreamcast is easy. You just open a door and it's right there, and you kind of have to pry it out, but then you just slide the new one in, press it down, and you're done. I did that like last year.
Well, let's be honest, thank God we don't run on cartridges anymore with like its own internal time clock system. Like, I think it was.
Yeah, like, thank God we have consoles that are like smart enough to tell that stuff on their own now.
Yeah. Like back then it was like holy shit, this is amazing. Now it's just, just second thought. But it's really interesting, like the whole like the rare console hunters, like the money that people go out of their way to get. Damn.
Well, the stuff is high profile, and it's a piece of history.
Oh hell yeah! Like owning something like a Sony Jaguar, or like the development kit for Dreamcast, or that Nintendo PlayStation hybrid thing they made. That is like Jesus Christ. Like you better put that thing in like glass case, light up, pristine.
Better get
setup.
insurance on it.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, but what would you even play on it?
Well, here's the deal. Like, if you play it over time, it would, degrade. Like, so you're kind of like in the catch-22. If I play the system a lot, something's going to break down eventually.
Well, it's like realistically, unless you're either going to start a museum or submit it to a museum, the only real utility you're really getting out of it is I'm going to buy it in the hopes that it's going to increase in value so I can sell it later.
Which, to that, the Nintendo PlayStation hybrid console, yeah, that's an investment. That is a big investment right there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I
Give
remember...
that 20 years, it'll definitely go up in value.
I think there was a certain game on, like, I think the Nintendo that came out in, like... I forgot where it came out, but it was set up in a way where you only could play it once.
Ooh.
And then it died. Like, it's like that DVD idea that they had back then that thankfully died, where you were renting a DVD, but after 3 days the thing degraded, and it made it unusable.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but there was certain, I forgot what system it was on, but it was like you could only play it once, and that was it. And then the game would like kill itself.
Yeah, that was a fun rabbit hole looking up Japan only consoles.
Oh, don't make me jealous.
Honestly, I'm just happy that I got that Saturn Game Shark at Retro World Expo, because now I can finally play Japanese Saturn games. Finally,
nice.
After buying a whole bunch of them with no utility whatsoever with them, I can finally play some of these Japanese Saturn games I've accumulated.
Damn. I wonder if you could do that with like the Game Shark for like the PS2.
I don't know, because here's what's weird about these old consoles is that because everything was so particular at the time, there are different ways to say bypass region locking. So I know for the Dreamcast, people would make like boot discs where you'd put the disc in and the Dreamcast would read it in a way where it would allow the Dreamcast to do things it normally wouldn't be able to do. But it's something that would be different between the Saturn and the Dreamcast and the PlayStation, PS2 and all that. Now I'm just happy that all mainstream consoles are basically just region free.
Which, you know what? I gotta give it to freaking.
Bring the Idolmaster here.
Well, no, like the one thing I liked about Sony, like during the PS3 generation, they're like, yeah, it's region free, go for it. We're not stopping you. And I'm just really happy that this generation of systems is like, yeah, region free. Like, sweet, we can import games from Japan with ease now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wish that shit happened in the Xbox 360 era. With me and you would have been all over that kind of fucking game.
Yeah, there was a point in time where I had contemplated getting a Japanese Xbox for that game in particular, but
believe me, it crossed my mind too. It crossed my mind as well. And it sucks because it's like it was like a missed chance, you know.
It's egregiously unrealized potential. But hey, we've been getting a whole lot of like remakes and re-releases of various games from back in the day, so maybe there's a chance that we might get Mobile Ops: The 1 Year War on some kind of modern console, or maybe even on Steam. Who knows? Not holding my breath.
No, but if it does happen, or like a sequel to it, hey.
I'm 100% down.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, fucking hell yeah.
Battlefield Gundam. Let's do it.
Sig Xeon, bitches.
Okay, so let's talk about stuff. Anyone watching anything?
Oh
I
shit!
I really ain't watched a damn thing, so
I've
everyone
been
else can go on.
I've been slowly watching the backlog of shit that I've been meaning to get through, like that anime I was talking to you about, Anubis, the one where the guy confesses his love to a girl in an MMORPG, but it turned out to be a guy.
Uh,
So now he's
yeah,
like,
the English title is R. Well, now I forgot the English title. Give me a second.
yeah, it's. I've been watching some of the stuff like that, like. Then people like watch Demon Slayer. Like, I'm really not a huge fan of Demon Slayer. I'm sorry. Um, I just been watching a lot of stuff that I just been like just hadn't had the chance to watch or fully watch all the way through. So when you start a series and you stop and you haven't seen it in a while, so you got to like just restart it all over again.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yep, it's the same goddamn logic, and that was a series that I watched the first few episodes and then I just stopped, and now I'm like, okay, let's redo the whole thing, and like, holy crap, it's awesome. I actually enjoy this. Other than that, not much really. Like, we're just it's basically just waiting for shit to come out.
The same. I mean, yeah, I've watched the recent of Diary of Our Days at the Breakwater, but that's one of the shows that's postponed.
Yep.
Kakushigoto is still going though. That's
I think
the
Digimon got postponed as well. The new Digimon.
yeah, almost everything is. But Kakushigoto is still going apparently. That's the one that's the Koji Kameda one.
Oh, I did watch Ghost in the Shell standalone complex 2045.
Oh yeah, it's the one that's on Netflix.
Yes, and without spoiling the story, I had mixed feelings about it.
Oh, that's the one that Shinji Aramaki's working on.
The guy from Appleseed.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, his style definitely in there, definitely in there, and that's what made it really weird.
Well, here's the thing. I think he's a fucking brilliant, mecha designer. The unsung hero of 80s kid toy lines and cartoons, because he worked on so many things from that time that you wouldn't even believe that he did. But the man should just not do CG directed stuff.
It just feels really weird seeing this in a CG. Like, granted, it's it's Ghost in the Shell, and Ghost in the Shell could we've seen it in different formats before, but a continuation of the standalone complex series, it would have been nice to have that anime. And
how about one that looks like the manga, the original 89?
That was
that's what I'm about.
Early.
That's what I'm about to say. Is I feel like a lot of these later on Ghost in the Shell releases after standalone complex and second gig and all that, they're all trying to capture the lightning in the bottle that was standalone complex, and I'm not certain we can really do that again.
No,
I think it would be valuable to explore other styles with Ghost in the Shell, because it's like you've got the films, you got Ghost in the Shell, and you've got Innocence. You've got standalone complex, and that's a separate thing. And then you have the manga, and I don't think the manga has really been explored in an animated form.
No, I think was it the PlayStation 1 video game basically was more true to form with the manga, with the cutscenes, than anything else. But overall, it's just like when I was watching this, it was mixed. I don't want to spoil anything with the story, But just being a Ghost in the Shell fan, there were some parts of it like, oh, okay, this is actually really cool, or okay, this episode's deep. I like it. And then other parts, like again, it's just getting used to like the whole 3D animation thing. It's just like it's like kind of weird, and I just wish they had what's her name,
Yoko Kano.
I think was Yoko Kano prominent in the development of it?
Well, I know she did the music for Standalone Complex.
Yeah, but what did she do the music for 2045 though? Does that even? I don't know.
Well, again, it's like they're trying to recapture what they had with Standalone Complex and Second Gig, and
Yeah.
I'm not certain you can do that quite as competently if you don't have a similar art style, if you don't have
Yeah.
similar people behind it, if you don't have all the trappings around that series that made it what it was.
Yeah, you need like everyone back at it again, like Final Fantasy, like the Final Fantasy VII remake. They said that we're not gonna do it unless everyone gets back together for this shit. And you know what's really annoying? The Ghost in the Shell 2045 on Netflix. You got the Japanese dubs with English subs, but the English subs is still pending. And I'm like, why couldn't you just release both?
So
at the same time?
they didn't release it subtitled at first. Like they
No,
still don't have subtitles for it.
No, they have subtitles, but the English dub is still pending.
Okay,
Even
that I'm
though,
fine
even
with.
the thing is, when you highlight something on Netflix, it shows you like a small video preview, and it was the English dub, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then when I went in, I'm like, what the fuck is the English dubs?
Like, so it's just Netflix being incompetent with anime again.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, it's like I said with when they did Tiger and Bunny. Don't trust Netflix. They don't quite know what they're really doing with anime.
No. Still though, it's like Shinji Aramaka again does great work with doing like mech-based designs. I will say that. Like,
I almost feel like Shinji Aramaki would have done better if they did make a Ghost in the Shell series that's closer to the manga.
yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like that would be a real big, like, a real big departure, because he did Appleseed, and that's another Masamune Shiro manga.
Yeah.
So because when you're talking about Ghost in the Shell, if you're talking about Standalone Complex, you're kind of no longer talking about Shiro's manga anymore. Like when you, because the 1995 film and Standalone Complex all technically take place in, like, they're different versions of the same universe, basically. Yeah. They're different takes on a lot of the concepts that Ghost in the Shell is exploring, and they explore different elements of that world.
Like what was it? Ghost in the Shell Rise? Was it called Rise?
Arise, yeah.
Arise, yeah. Like it was a different offset. Because I think that wasn't a prequel, was it?
I think it was a prequel.
Ooh.
I feel like it was. I haven't seen it, so. Okay, so. Yeah, according to this, it's another reimagining.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, like, it felt different enough. Like, it's Ghost in the Shell, but it felt different enough to be its own thing. Still though, it's out on Netflix for those of you who want to watch it. I'm just like I got mixed things about it myself, but I just don't want to reveal any of the story because I want to give Anubis and others like you guys a chance to watch it yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I plan on checking it out.
Yeah.
It's like I haven't encountered a piece of Ghost in the Shell media I would consider bad. Like the live action movie was the least good work of Ghost in the Shell media, but I'm not going to call it a bad movie. It was a competently made movie. It was just it was kind of shallow as far as exploring the concepts that Ghost in the Shell talks about.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I knew they were going to simplify the concepts for
Oh yeah.
the American.
The thing I do like is there were some little details as Ghost in the Shell fans you instantly picked up on. Like in one scene, they got Togusa, like he used his revolver. They got that right. The Baoto, they had his dog, same species dog.
Yep.
They got that right. Like there were like these little details, and people were complaining and bitching about the movie being Americanized. Like, guys, the guy who behind Ghost in the Shell is working with him, so he's not going to go off the beaten path here. But it's not going to be the Ghost in the Shell that we know because again, this is Hollywood here. So
yeah.
Well, again,
making it for a different
like,
audience.
Yeah, they were basically they were remaking the 1995 movie.
The think tank design, I love that they didn't change it. It was pretty much like pretty accurate think tank. Well, overall, it's not the best, but it definitely, it's not bad either way, too. It's not a bad attempt. And of course, we'll wait to see how the Cowboy Bebop thing goes. So
I'm not. I'm not. If that movie never comes out, that's I'm not going to be better or worse off.
He means TV series.
It's a TV series, not a movie.
Yeah, if that never comes out, I'm not going to be. I won't be mad if that never comes out.
Yeah, because it's like to me, it's like okay, if you're doing a TV series, which are you going to base certain episodes off certain episodes, or are you going to try to do your own thing, or it's like how are you going to do this? Because
I just hope they don't make it.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things that you don't really want to touch because it's perfect on its own.
Yeah, like Akira when they wanted to keep saying we're going to do Akira.
No, they are. They are.
Yeah.
They say they are, then they don't. Then they say it's like back and forth. It's like
they're still in like the pre-planning stages, but they're definitely doing it.
I hope it doesn't go much past that.
The Alita Battle Angel proved that you can do an anime. You can do a movie based on an anime.
See, now I'm feeling that's what they probably are going to end up doing with Akira is just making it to a Netflix thing at this point.
No, it's a movie. It's going to be a movie. That they pretty much confirmed. But other series, oh yeah. Cowboy Bebop. What other series?
The weird thing that people don't get is that Akira is so big, like the manga, that because the anime movie cut a lot out. So in a weird way,
but I guarantee
perfect for Hollywood.
But I guarantee you they're not going to base it off of the manga.
No, God, no. They're gonna base it off the movie, and Kanye West is gonna be in there somewhere. Guaranteed.
Well, if Kanye West is in it, I might see it.
Well, I guess it's like his. Remember that the Stronger?
Yeah.
Was it? It was. Yeah, Stronger. It was
like
based off of Akira.
Like Kanye West is into anime.
Yeah, there's a lot of what people fail to realize is there's a lot of people that are like actors, musicians, all that stuff that actually legitimately do love and enjoy watching anime, and Kanye West is one of them.
Kanye West loves Golden Boy, which is that's like the least surprising thing about Kanye West is that he likes Golden Boy.
And Golden Boy is awesome.
It's like if you take one look at Kanye West and like, yeah, that guy probably loves Golden Boy.
Yeah, I love Golden Boy. There's like the whole thing out there, Robin Williams, like, what he used to love. He enjoyed watching anime. Freaking Keanu Reeves loves Cowboy Bebop and expressed interest in playing Spike Spiegel. And I said to myself, you know what? It wouldn't be that bad.
If if I have to live in a universe with a live action Cowboy Bebop, I'd be less mad if it was Keanu Reeves playing
Yeah.
Spike.
Yeah.
He can
Just
do
like he could like hell, John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. John Wick is basically Spike Spiegel.
Yeah. But just definitely more serious. So, and like what other anime could they possibly do to turn it into Hollywood?
None. Let's keep it that way. Let's
Oh,
let's cut our losses.
you know-
Let's quit while we're ahead.
Yeah, no,
'Cause we kind of don't need it.
even though I totally misspelled Hollywood. Hollow. Hollywood movies. Oh God, yeah. Let's not. Okay. The lowest form you could ever do is Dragon Ball Evolution.
And we read this article on the show a while back. They're trying to turn Robotech into like a cinematic universe. Like they're trying to make it the new Marvel. They're gonna try and do it.
Wait, hold on. Did they really do a Fist of the North Star movie?
Yes, they did. Is
it bad?
I'm gonna assume it's bad.
Yeah.
If it's Hollywood, I'm gonna assume it's bad.
Oh yeah, Hollywood's doing that Gundam.
Yeah, I'm not looking
But
forward
Legendary
to it.
Pictures is behind it, and they did the Pacific Rim. So,
Also,
aesthetically speaking,
Well,
it's
Pacific
not the
Rim
worst
and Gundam
choice.
I mean, that's not a high bar. Like Pacific Rim and Gundam are two wildly different things.
It's the better potential option to go with. I would, if I had to say it in a way.
The better potential option would be let's let it live. we don't need to put everything into live action.
Exactly. They said One Punch Man.
Live action One Punch Man?
Yeah.
God, just let it live. We don't. Here's what bothers me. We don't need to legitimize everything by making a live action Hollywood version of it. And that's what I feel like they're trying to do.
Well, I know they don't get the fact that people like these things because they're animated.
Oh,
There's something specific about anime that people resonate with, and that's what produces all these wildly creative works that Hollywood then comes and dumbs down for the Hollywood audience.
or they completely rip it off, like what Black Swan did to Perfect Blue.
Yeah, or they do that, which, to be perfectly honest, I prefer that.
Yep.
If you're gonna make your live action stuff based off of an anime, to at least pretend to do something original.
Which, you want to know something that's even crazy? The director of Black Swan, which movie was heavily based on the freaking, Perfect Blue, he went out and bought the rights to Perfect Blue.
Oh, come on.
I
just got done praising that concept, and the dude goes and buys the rights to the Perfect Blue movie.
Just so he could say he didn't plagiarize it. I'm like, okay, you know what? You know what? It's... And I know there's a couple of films out there that are still in like pre-production and stuff like.
Well, I hope they stay there.
Again,
they stay there.
Naruto?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Really? Really? Like Akira, we know of that is a fact, but not. Okay. Wait. In July 2015, Lionsgate announced that they were developing a live-action Naruto with Avi Arad through his production company Arad Productions. On December 26th, they announced that they've been asked. Wow! So it's wow. Okay. I don't know how you're gonna do that, but okay.
Nope.
You know what? Cool.
before we go any deeper down this rabbit hole, let's hit up the break because we do have a main segment to get into.
Yep.
So we can hit up the break. Keep it right here on NTR Radio. Welcome back to NTR Radio.
What's up?
So, naturally, it's unavoidable. We're all well aware of the pandemic going on, and naturally, that's affecting a lot of aspects of the otaku culture.
Oh yeah. Again, like we talked about earlier, delays and postponements of anime series.
Figures
Holiday.
in EMS limbo.
Yep.
Yep, because the factory workers, they don't, if they get sick, goddamn, they got to shut down the factory.
Oh yeah. So like on the production side of things, they don't want people having themselves exposed. They don't want people potentially getting sick.
Well, here's the
On
thing
the
that they
distribution
said.
side of things, they of course don't want people getting sick. And that's going to cause delays with that. On the
Also, the
so like,
background, the people that do the backgrounds, because they take like reference shots and such.
right. So they don't want
That's the biggest.
they don't want them going out.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest thing why there's all these delays.
34 TV series, anime TV
Yeah.
series have been delayed so far.
God damn.
And so
Almost the whole season, basically.
We got that going on in the Japanese market, in the U.S. market.
Of course, stupid people. Hold on. Of course, stupid people are saying, "Well, this wouldn't happen if they made shows in advance, like Kiwani." Like the whole make the show before the whole show before airing.
People really saying that?
Some idiot on Twitter, some idiot on ANN was saying that.
People really don't know how the industry works, do they?
No, they don't.
It makes me upset because like not every company can be Kiwani. Like I'm sorry. I would like more companies to get to that level, but like we can't wish on a star and make it that way.
No.
like
no amount of complaining on the ANN forums is going to make JC Staff into Kiwani Mark II.
It's like
I don't think JC Staff. the two come. I know I rag on JC Staff, but it's like really, it's like the two are like the most polar opposite in philosophy as far as like how anime is like produced between the two.
Plus, it's like when animes are based on manga, they're still writing the manga. They're still doing it. So the anime series is basically waiting to see what's going to happen. So that's why do you think they got filler episodes? Because they're waiting for the story to progress more.
It's people who don't understand how the industry works and
I've read that.
Go off of want to still make
they just
proclamations
make the
about the industry that they don't understand how to navigate.
Yeah.
But
my favorite is when people complain about recaps. It's like it's like, do they hate repeats or such? It's like, no, that's not it.
No, it's people who have fundamental misunderstandings about the industry, and who are also trying to make proclamations and statements about it without having any knowledge of it.
Yeah, and they just want it instantly. They want it now.
But,
and I'm sitting here being
we got
excited
that going on the Japanese side. On the U.S. side, we've got on looking from an insider perspective on the figure industry. My distributor, who also serves Crunchyroll, who also serves the Faku store, who also serves Tokyo Otaku Mode for some products, they've got delays coming in from their suppliers, as well as they're under the stay-at-home order in their state. So that's kind of put the brakes on that. I know that April is gearing up to be the first month in like 30 years where there's no anime conventions.
No conventions, period. Across the board. Everything. Which is nuts.
And we're also seeing some delays on like the US industry side. So a lot of Funimation dubs are getting delayed. A lot of home video releases are getting delayed as well.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. People like they have to like
Manga releases. Yeah,
they got to like work from home, and they have to set up everything, make sure it works, and they got to set up a network.
Yeah, they have to basically redo their entire infrastructure to work in a different way than it used to.
Oh yeah, like for the industry I work in, the casino industry. Yeah, they're still shut down. So now I'm a frontline essential employee.
But yeah, so it comes down to it, like a lot of people are like making jokes. It's like, oh, well, this is we gotta self-isolate. We gotta stay in our homes. That's what I do every day. It shouldn't be difficult. And like that's really cute. But at the same time, we're talking about people's lives getting turned upside down in a big way, and it's affecting every aspect of the subculture, to where even if your normal everyday thing is stay up in your house and watch anime, even that's getting disrupted.
Hell, the video game industry right now is getting rocked to hell.
Game industry is getting affected as well.
Movie industry delays.
Yep.
Or TV series and TVs as well delays, or like some of the stuff like some of the game shows, no live audience.
Yep.
Just them. Freaking WWE, which some weird thing got the okay to keep going. No live audience. It's just a lot of things are changing so drastically that like people are still trying to goddamn it, like kids staying home doing schoolwork at home.
Yeah, everything's getting affected.
Like there was
so the focus of what we're trying to figure out is, okay, what are the best ways to continue being part of the otaku
this was all
culture.
my idea, basically.
Yeah.
How to still be an otaku during all this.
Yeah, exactly. How to still engage in the otaku culture while all this is going on.
Well, step one, got that little backlog of Gunpla you haven't built yet.
Work on your backlogs.
I know what I do. I got 1, 2, like 3.5, 4 actually. 4 Gunpla, 4.5 Gunpla that I still haven't built.
I have just one I haven't built, but it's a master grade, so.
Yeah, work on your Gunpla. Work on the manga, the anime series that you put on backlog. That now
I got stuff I haven't read. Yeah, I have manga I haven't read. I could look through that. I got a whole bunch of shows.
Like you have no excuse now for anyone, like, oh, I put on my backlog. Like, yeah, go through your backlog.
This is the time to break out that backlog.
Time to break it out. Start crossing off. And
I downloaded a Blu-ray rip because I haven't seen it in like a decade, so I figured let me watch it again. A Blu-ray rip of Dan Cougar, one of my favorite robot shows.
Creating content.
Oh yeah, creating. Well, yeah. As far as me, I do my art, so I haven't slowed down at all.
Like artists, you're at home. You got all the tools you need. Content creators on YouTube making videos. You got keep doing it. Podcasters, we're on a podcast. Live streams on Twitch or stuff like that. Okay, cool.
It's actually hilarious. A statistic I found: podcast listenership is actually down significantly. You know why?
Why?
No one's commuting. Like a non-trivial number of people listen to podcasts on their commute.
Yeah.
Because nobody's on their commute anymore. Well, as long as this stuff going on, people just aren't listening to podcasts. Like that was weird because I thought it would be the opposite, but it
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense.
You think it would be the opposite because it's like now
You
people
know,
have
people
more
have all the
time.
time in the world to listen to podcasts, but what the reason podcasts took off in like the later half of the 2010s is because you're able to listen to a podcast while doing something else. And
For
so,
those of you out there, listening to us right now, why aren't you building your gunpla?
hey,
Why aren't
build
you going hard?
Gunpla while 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 listening to NTR Radio.
Reorganize and clean your goddamn room while listening to NTR Radio.
Shit, I just did that earlier today. Not listening to NTR
Okay,
Radio because
okay,
I don't listen.
Jordan Peterson.
I don't. Hey,
Clean
listen.
your room.
It's like I just went through and reorganized some of my figures, dusted every single figure, and did not listening to NTR Radio because I listen. I'm a little bit narcissistic. I'm not that narcissistic to listen to my own podcast for fun.
Well, not like to other people they can listen to the podcast. Well,
See, me, it's hard to listen to my own only because I know my voices when I'm heard through. Granted, it's maybe probably through the headset I have. I don't know, but yes, I admit I do have a very monotone voice.
See, I've grown fine listening to my own voice through the podcast. I just think I talk like an asshole. Like I just think like I listen to my own podcast and I'm like, wow, is that really how I talk? But no, it's there's certainly a lot of maintenance involved with the otaku lifestyle, because when you have a lot of figures, dusting becomes an endeavor. Like while I was dusting and reorganizing everything, I was listening to a 1 hour 30-minute live stream on YouTube, and I was basically dusting for that in the entire duration of that live stream, dusting and cleaning and reorganizing stuff, picking some stuff up. I still have some stuff to take care of, but it becomes an endeavor, and it's not necessarily something you have time for all the time when you have other stuff to do. But in the absence of other stuff to do, there's certainly an opportunity to go through and maintain a bunch of what you have. Like I dusted the Zero Mask. That thing had like a layer of dust on it. It hadn't been dusted in so long.
Also, for those of you out there, good time to clean your computers. Good time, to clean out your consoles and stuff like that, maintain them. Good time to reorganize. Like, if you honestly clean your room, like go through it, because every time I clean my room, I always have like 2 full garbage bags, because I usually store stuff and I never got rid of it after. And it's like, what the hell? I don't need this. Like, and plus also open a goddamn window, air out your room. You'll feel 10 times better
If the weather's nice.
if the weather
was kind of shitty today, so I would have done that.
It was beautiful yesterday. It was beautiful yesterday. But another thing that you guys could do, start planning for next year's conventions.
Yeah, so let's talk about the convention scene, because this is something that's important, and you kind of don't realize its importance until it's gone. So like every convention is canceled.
Yeah, and what's even like crazy is like we're starting to see cancellations in the summertime now.
Yep.
San Diego Comic-Con, first time in like 50 years, canceled. Like
Anime Expo canceled.
And me and Anubis are planning to go to Retro World Expo, and they're the first weekend of September, and we're like, well, what happened if it gets canceled? So it's literally getting to like that like point of like start planning for next year's, guys. If it gets canceled, make it so. Make it so for next year then.
And also reallocate resources. Because I don't know about other people, but I know that I was certainly planning on going to Anime Boston, but once that fell through, I suddenly had a lot of unallocated money that I could spend elsewhere. So I put some funds into a couple of my businesses. I got a new keyboard, which is significant because the last time I got a new keyboard, the keyboard I was using, I got back in like 2006. So I've been using the same keyboard for 13 years, give or take.
Which is crazy.
Hey, it still worked for the most part.
It still works, but it's just crazy that you finally upgraded your keyboard.
Honestly, I really hadn't found one that was as comfortable as that one was.
Also,
no, but the not the pen, but the thing that I used to draw on, the Wacom, that's that's almost 20 years old.
Wow.
hot damn. And
Well, I must have gotten in. All right, not 20, maybe like 15.
That's still impressive.
From
My
like 2005,
That's
basically, yeah.
That's still impressive.
Yeah.
You are literally the embodiment of it. If it, if it ain't broke, keep going.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The crazy thing is, like, you find something that works, and if it hasn't stopped working, why replace it?
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
But yeah, I was talking about reallocating resources. So, like, definitely set something aside for the next year. But in the absence of having to plan for a convention, you're gonna end up with a lot of extra funds and whatnot that you're able to put towards something else.
Like,
So
were you
yeah,
guys
I
planning
funded a
to
couple of
build
my businesses. I went through, got this new keyboard, and I still have extra resources that I can put toward some other projects that I was planning on doing later. But why not go for them now?
Like, were you guys planning to redo your setup, like get a new table or desk? Were you guys planning, getting some things you need for your car, upgrades and stuff like that for the long haul trips to cons? It's nice that it's like, hey, I got all this free time and I got all this money, I can just reallocate. I could put some aside put some aside in like a piggy bank for next year, but might as well start getting the things that you actually need and want to get.
And for those like me that have shit on pre-order, I think you gotta like tell yourself, relax, it will come. Just you need to be patient, and at the worst could happen is it gets resent back to the main store.
Yeah, that's just like write it out.
Especially if you order stuff from Japan and it's got to go, or not even that, order stuff from overseas and it's got to go through customs. Yeah, that shit's gonna take longer. Or technically, not as long now because there's not many planes flying.
Well, sure, there's not many planes flying, but they're definitely not flying out of Japan into the U.S. bringing cargo with them because they stopped that shit.
No, but they are like, well, I think it might be just like on passenger planes.
Yeah, they put the stuff it's not like a C-130 flying out of Japan bringing stuff to the U.S. They put the stuff.
bring your waifus.
Yeah,
like
they bring that stuff
bring
on
these
passenger
waifus.
planes as cargo.
Yeah. Well, they got a lot of fucking cargo.
But
now,
But there are certainly disruptions happening to the media side, but it's not going to prevent you from watching anime. There's certainly disruptions happening to the merchandise side, but what that really means, it's going to take you longer to receive your merch. What really got killed by this entire situation was the social aspect.
Yes,
Because, like,
yes, I was just thinking.
all the conventions are done. All the gatherings, they're done too. If you were at a college and you had an anime club there, guess what? It's not going to happen. Not in person, at least.
And this is why it's like, we've seen services like Discords, been ramping up their efforts, to make sure that that Discord is stable. Like, there's still a way to socialize, but like the in-person socialization, yeah, I do get, because I do miss that.
Yeah, and
I do miss that a lot.
what we're starting to see with the anime subculture and the furry subculture in particular, these are the two I've seen it with, is the rise of these online conventions. So I know in the past few months, there have been a few online furry conventions. I hosted a panel at an online anime convention a month or so ago. That was put on by the same people who do Camp Anime. And
Laid back camp anime.
I'm currently on staff for Anime Lockdown, which is happening next weekend. And I'm presenting a panel there too. But what I expect is that we're not only gonna see the rise of these online conventions, and whenever this is all said and done, I think that's gonna stick around. I don't see any reason why that paradigm needs to go by the wayside just because we can have physical cons again. That, and I anticipate it's going to be a lot harder for the smaller cons going forward.
Oh yeah, it's. I feel bad because it's like some of the bigger ones they can take the hit, but the smaller conventions, like unless the contract got canceled by act of God, it's kind of hard to recover because you need those funds to keep going for every year.
And this is something people need to understand, because I've seen a lot of complaints about cons waiting until the last minute to cancel. There are contractual obligations with the venue that are made. It's a major part of every physical convention, is that they need to, they sign a contract with the venue, and there are clauses in that contract that state that the con can't just pull out of the contract. They would be on the hook for a lot of money if they did that. So the reason a lot of cons wait till the last second is they need to wait until there's a very clear mandate that they can't hold that event at that place at that time. There would need to be either some kind of disaster, some kind of act of God that prevents that thing from happening, or there would have to be some kind of mandate that would render that event illegal to hold at that venue, at that place, at that point in time. Because otherwise they'd be deliberately putting themselves on the hook for a lot of money for no reason other than to satisfy some people who would complain on the internet. So take Kineticon, who have yet to announce a cancellation and saying they're monitoring the situation. I guarantee you that's what's going on with Kineticon. That they can't say that they have a contractual obligation, because that would be implying that they want to cancel, but they have to put out a statement saying we don't have any plans of canceling currently, but we're monitoring the situation, which, if you're looking at it, really means we're contractually obligated to not cancel before a certain amount of time.
And right now, Kineticon is on the July 9th or 12th. And Anime Expo, when is it usually?
Anime Expo is usually early July, I believe.
Yeah, so think about it that way.
Well, it's going to depend on the state, because each state has its different mandates. Obviously, in California, they're very clearly expecting the stay-at-home orders and whatnot to last into the summer. We don't quite know yet in Connecticut, so it's up in the air, and it has to be up in the air. So Connecticut kind of has to make that kind of statement.
Yeah.
Also, all these people out like defying orders to stay home and just like going out. It's like you should stay home.
I'm not gonna say that. If you're going out in the park and you're being responsible, I don't think you should be arrested for that. If you're like jogging on the beach, and there's nobody around you, I don't think you should be arrested for that.
It was people on the beach in California all close together. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so that's a problem, certainly. I don't know how, like, I don't know what people expect people to do. Because this is my problem. Is there are definitely some people who are going to be frustrated enough with the current situation, with the current stay-at-home orders and whatnot, that they're going to do whatever they were going to do regardless. And kind of like my paradigm with don't try and argue with people, don't try and battle people who spend hundreds of dollars on anime girl shit. Kind of like that paradigm, no amount of shaming is going to change their behavior. So unless we're expecting the police to show up with water cannons, I'm not certain what people want out of those other people. Do what you think is necessary to protect yourself and the people you care about. And then otherwise it's kind of every man for himself, as far as I'm concerned. But as far as continuing, like, keeping the otaku culture going, I definitely think that the in-person interaction aspect is a very important part of the culture, and I think that the longer we go without that, the more we risk, like, tumbling further into whatever Twitter makes people into. Because, like, there are definitely some very familiar symptoms to being way too online that a lot of people you might see in, like, the seedier parts of anti-Twitter definitely exhibit. And the convention scene is a very welcome respite from that, and I think that I'm concerned with where that might bring the subculture if that's gone for an extended period of time. That said, I am confident that the people in the subculture, the most innovative people among us in the subculture, will, both during and after this whole thing is said and done, will come up with ways to solve problems. Because I was talking to Shinden9 about this on his podcast earlier today, and, like, there's a lot that's going to be disrupted that's not just the conventions and just that scene. Because if the conventions are disrupted, what happens to all the vendors whose income is reliant on, I'm going to this convention this weekend, this convention the next weekend, and then this convention over here the following weekend, and then we're going back over here to this convention the weekend after that. Okay, now there's no conventions, which means those shops have zero income.
Yep, they're not
Or
making any money.
close to zero income. And I don't know if you've tried this, Panda, but I've gone to some of the websites that some of these booths that set up at anime conventions have, and they're not, a lot of them aren't very robust as far as selling online goes. Like, they're not really set up for that. Their chief business model is going to conventions and selling there. So
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
There's absolutely room for some very, very innovative otaku to be the solution for those enterprises, like for those businesses. Said, hey, I'll help you folks set up a Shopify store. Like, people who know e-commerce and people who know internet marketing could easily help those businesses out. There's a business opportunity there for innovative people who are willing to get involved with that. But people are already starting to solve problems, because you have these online conventions, and they're getting pretty robust. Like, each one has its own way of doing things, but you've got panels, you've got artists, you've got dealers all at these conventions, and it's just going on in a different way. I remember I saw one of these online furry cons that had one of their con staff build a convention center in Minecraft.
Really?
Yeah, so people could interact within the convention space virtually. I can foresee someone in the anime subculture doing something similar with VR chat.
They're probably already working on it right now.
They're probably working on it right now. And this is something I also mentioned on the Sobi FM. That's one of the most magical things about this subculture in particular, is that we solve our own problems habitually.
We definitely know how to adapt. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, because we've had to. All the way back to the days of tape trading, it's just been, okay, we're gonna adapt. We're gonna adapt no matter what, because we want this thing to happen. So we're gonna make it happen, and who cares if it's legally gray, or who cares if it hasn't been done before?
Like that. What is it? The anime lockdown thing?
Yep.
Has freaking as guests from the anime dubbing industry.
Yeah, we've got 2 voice actors. We've got 2 industry panels going on,
and it's like it's crazy, but it's like, hey, it's a little bit of a con in your home. Which now, what I'm wondering is what's going to happen after,
What I anticipate is that we'll continue to see a lot of these online cons going on, even after the regular cons open their doors back up. And I can also anticipate some of the regular cons putting on some of these smaller online events in between their main events.
It's like, hey, proof of concept, it works. So though, we are resilient. Otakus are resilient people.
We're a subculture of people who have had to innovate to survive. Like, if it weren't for people who are so passionate about the media that they're willing to focus their efforts, anime would never have taken off in the US. Because we're talking back in the late 70s, we're talking groups of nerds at a college who maybe knew a pen pal in Japan who could record VHS tapes, and that's where it started.
Crazy way.
It's and like this is why I think that it's not gonna be too bad, especially because it's cute to say, but a lot of us are used to self-isolating for extended periods of time, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna change the way a lot of us do things, at least for now. But I think going forward, everything's gonna be a little bit better than it was when all of this started. Like once all the anime figure supply chains are back in order, once all the anime production is back on track, once the conventions are starting to put on events again. Yeah, exactly. Hey, the anime's back.
You see the smoke smokestacks.
Yeah, the anime factory's back in town.
It's like go overtime now. Get your shit together, people. We're going.
Yeah, Jekyll Geek in the IRC. As a bonus, online cons don't sound that expensive to attend, and you're 100% correct.
But can it truly replicate that the con smell?
I hope not.
Unless you're already living in.
We don't. Yeah,
smell.
if this is also coming from the IRC, a pro of online cons. If someone smells, it's your fault.
Yeah. Someone smells, no one else is gonna have to experience
you're the only
it.
person sitting there at your computer. Hey, maybe it's you.
Maybe you should clean up, And it's just very resilient ways, that how we're coping with things.
Yeah,
and
otaku really solve their own problems. Like we talked about working on projects over this thing. One project I've been working on that is a book I've been writing for the past few years about otaku who have taken it upon themselves basically to solve problems for the subculture. And I'm talking like Peter Payne of J-List, Jake McGrady of Faku, people like that who started something to solve a problem and ended up in major sectors of the industry as a result. And I just based on the fact that we solve our own problems, I think things are gonna be fine. Again, once the anime figure supply lines are back in line, once the schedules are back on track, once everything stopped being disrupted due to the people who have solved problems during this entire situation, I think that things are going to be okay. I think things are going to be more than okay.
But yeah, just patience and I don't know. I try not to I know it's really hard, but try not to over absorb the news.
Fucking stop watching the news.
And some of it. I mean, a little bit, but not to the point of like.
Well, you're gonna if something's important enough that you need to know about it, you're gonna hear it anyway. So it's not necessary to stick glued to the news. Watch some anime instead.
Yeah.
Because it's not only is it really not gonna like. Not much of the information is going to help you, and it's just going to make you feel worse. So why even, like, you're already basically mandated to stay inside your house. So that's already doing damage to your mental health. So why do more damage by watching the news, which is on some level is obligated to give you the worst of whatever you can possibly hear.
In short,
And like stay connected to the people you really care about.
and there are tons of ways to do it. Even if you're not being with them, you got, stuff like a phone call, Discord, video games to play together, like the camaraderie aspect.
Yep.
You got all this stuff going on, the tools available, to you, whether it be a voice call, a video call, anything.
Well, it's like a few weeks ago, the girlfriend and I watched all of Genshiken. Like
Hell yeah.
3 or 4 episodes at a time. Just watched all of Genshiken.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But and another thing, like, it's okay to not enjoy being mandated to be stuck in your house. Because I see a lot of people who express. So, in specifics, I saw a tweet a while ago from Lost Pause, who's an anti-tuber, and he was expressing disappointment that he can't spend time with his fiance because everyone's mandated to stay in his house, so to stay in their house, so that he can't take a 1-hour drive to see his fiance. And like 90% of the replies were people shaming him for expressing that disappointment. So I do want to say it's okay to be disappointed that your entire life got turned upside down, because that's what happened. Certainly be responsible. Certainly don't put people in danger. But you don't have to be joyous about it. And I don't know. I feel like people went really, really wild for no reason about a lot of this, and it's frustrating seeing people who are trying to come from a place of empathy shame someone for being kind of mentally broken down by having their entire life turned on its head. So I think everyone needs to be a little bit more understanding. Everyone needs to be a little bit more,
And
like, we're all supposed to be in this together, so let's act like it.
Hell yeah.
yes. And also, yeah, keep in mind people are actually dying from all this. So it's like, you not getting your figures is like should be like, is like peak first world problem.
That's a very first world problem, and especially because the figure's gonna come anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well,
Like,
wait a few more weeks, and like it's not, again, like you said, VZ, the worst that can happen is it gets returned.
and it's like, like if it takes a while, like, you gotta remember this virus doesn't affect just old folks, it affects everyone, and everyone's trying to stay safe out there.
Yeah.
So,
And here's
I heard
another
it
thing,
might
and
be
maybe
fun,
this call me out for being self-aggrandizing or self-promoting or whatnot, but there are plenty of more local, like, figure retailers that you might patronize rather than having stuff shipped from Japan. See if a more local, more independent shop has what you're looking for. This is actually something that I've been kind of mulling over for a little bit while writing this book. Is I don't think people are realizing how critically important it is to have a serious business infrastructure for otaku goods over in the United States. I think people are really taking for granted that we're able to get figures and merchandise from Japan very easily. And I think people aren't realizing that there's a very good reason that stores like Tokyo Otaku Mode, like Western anime shops, the Crunchyroll store, Shinikiba, My Enterprise,
Big
there's
Bad
a
Toy Store, which is like one of the biggest.
yeah, there's a very good reason all of those shops exist. And because like when you're working with a distributor, that distributor has a more robust infrastructure for getting goods from Japan to the United States than you as an individual consumer on Hobby Search or AmiAmi buying individual anime figures. So when you're able to have that very robust infrastructure, you're affected less by when something like this happens. So this is actually something that I plan on adding to the Otakunomics panel before I go live with it at Anime Lockdown, is why it's actually critically important that the Western anime market continues to exist and does well. Because I really don't think we want to see the world where there's no anime licensing firms and everything just comes directly from Japan. I don't actually think we want to see that world, because I don't think it's going to be very pretty for a lot of people. So if you're concerned that your product from Japan, your anime figure, whatever you're buying, might not make it, you might see if there's a smaller store that has what you're looking for, because they might actually be able to get it to you. Again, I sent out 2 figures over the past couple months, and as I understand it, everything went fine. Shipping wasn't a problem. Again, the post office wasn't a problem. Everyone's being safe out there, and I can still get figures to people. And I guarantee you that, again, depending on where the shop is, I guarantee you other small stores like mine can do the same.
Yep. Well said, Anubis. Well said.
So, I think that's the show.
Yeah.
I'm about to pass out because because not many people didn't realize I didn't get much sleep because I woke up early today to work my shift and I stayed up just to do this podcast because fucking Anubis here is awesome. And everyone else who's part of the podcast is also truly awesome.
So in service to the panda not passing out before we end this podcast, that is the show. The email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. VZ's stuff is at vzmk2 moemekigatai.wordpress.com. He also does the shirts at iyashike.moe/store. Iyashike being where I do the otaku lifestyle articles that everyone loves and some people don't love, but mostly everyone loves. VZ's book is The Big Book of Idols. That's at thebigbookofIdols.com. Otaku Midnight, great podcast. The Bakugaijin Show, great podcast. Asobi FM, great podcast. The GeekyPanda.net is the Geeky Panda's website. His stuff is really good. You should check it out.
Woo!
As I've mentioned like 80 times on this podcast, my store is shinakiba.moe. I sell anime girl figures. Check them out. I'm Time Enforcer Anubis.
I'm VZ Mark II.
And I'm a really tired of the Geeky Panda.
At T Anubis on Twitter, at VZMK2 on Twitter, at _geeky_panda on Twitter. And even though we start coughing every time we say this, is NTR Radio.